Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with NETGEAR. Today's host is our good friend, Jordan Cooper. He is our Senior Account Manager, and he'll be presenting today. If anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box, and Jordan will answer them at the end of today's presentation. Jordan, thank you again for being with Microcom. We greatly appreciate it. I'm finished for now. Please go ahead and take it on over.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Julie. Hey, everybody. Welcome to NETGEAR's PowerPoint presentation about the Total Network Solution. Like Julie said, my name is Jordan Cooper. I'm the Senior Account Manager for California, Texas, and Hawaii, to which Microcom is my partner. If you've been to my presentations before, you'll know that although I'm in sales, I'm working to become a network engineer. It means I know enough to be dangerous, but may not have an answer to all the technical side of the questions. So just keep that in mind as we kind of go through this. For those of also who have been in my presentations before, this will look a little bit familiar. We'll start off as we always do. We'll talk about our company facts. We'll also talk about the company differences of what makes NETGEAR different. We'll then talk about the new router that we just came out with, followed by our multi-gig switches. Also talking about our multi-gig access points. Wrap it up with talking about some insight. If you're not familiar with Insight, I hope you will be today, and if you are, this will be just another great recap. And then we'll also revamp and wrap it all up with the Total Network Solution. And we'll open up to questions, just like Julie had said. As we kind of go through, I'm not going to read every PowerPoint presentation or every line on the PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, definitely can die from the PowerPoint, but this is something that I always like to share on every one of my presentations, because this just shows that while NETGEAR is doing a little over $1 billion in net revenue, we do it with a little over 1,000 employees, making us run very lean, and we're very agile on the market. You know, I like to just mention here that we're large enough to make a difference, but we're small enough to care. Talking about the NETGEAR differences, anytime NETGEAR releases a new product or comes out with a new update, we always want to try and making sure we achieve three things. We always want to make sure that we are reliable, meaning a lot of our products come with a limited lifetime warranty. The limited lifetime warranty means after it goes end of life, it will be warranted for an additional 5 years. So if you just happen to buy a product that just barely came out, typically end of life, we try to not end of life for at least 5 to 6 years. And then after it gets end of life, you would have it for another 5 years after that. So it could be potentially a total of 10 years that you have that warranty on there. We also do offer next business day replacement. When it comes time to affordability, we want to be a fraction of the cost of some of the enterprise companies. Our focus is the small to medium business products, or small to medium business VARs and installers and integrators and businesses. So we want to make sure that our products match those people who are in that business. And we also want to be easy to use. Right? We don't want to have to require any training courses. We don't want you to have to go and watch a bunch of YouTube videos or read a bunch of online KB articles to figure out how to do stuff. We just want it to be plug and play, works as it should. And if you want to make any changes, things are in the place where you expect them to be and are working just as you would expect the normal NETGEAR to be. So that's always the goal with NETGEAR, to make sure we're achieving these three things. Diving right into it, we're going to talk about our new router. This is something that just came out within the last couple months. So if you've seen this already, fantastic. If you haven't, this might be new to you. NETGEAR, for the last couple of years, since COVID hit, a router has been missing in our lineup. Of course, we had our Orbi Pro router, super solid there, super great, fantastic throughput, but that was for the wireless side. We didn't have a true business mid-entry level grade router, and during those 2 years, it gave us a lot of time to really process what the market needs and listen to the needs and the wants of the market. So we came out with this new router. It's called our PR60X Pro. This is a fantastic router with some key features right here. We'll talk more about it on the next slide, but key features are going to be the dual WAN failover. So yes, there's a big demand in the SMB space to have a dual WAN router. It was a huge ask, and here it is. We've presented it with it. Another huge need that we want was the multi-gig capability, which we'll talk about a little bit here in a minute. This router, we've coined the nickname at NETGEAR. We've coined it the 10 gig pro router for the next decade, because as we feel, as technology progresses and as fast as it's progressing, this should easily last the next 10 years that you have, meaning you're future-proofing. You're future-proofing by having a 10 gig / multiple gig throughput on with a 2.5 gig WAN. You do have a 10 gig multi-gigabit WAN or LAN configurable port. So that's also nice. That WAN port, the dual WAN port, doesn't have to be dual WAN if you don't need it to be dual WAN. If you want it to just be a single WAN with multiple LAN, it can do that. And that one port is the 10 gig. I don't know about you, but I have 5 gig now at my house with my fiber internet. And so technology is getting there to be able to fully utilize this. So I am looking forward to the day where I can get one of these, trying to convince NETGEAR to send me one as for my lab, but right now it's a little hard to do. It's the demand is pretty high, and we're structuring our inventory to meet the demand right now. Moving on, it does have 3 ports that are 2.5 gig LAN with 1 SFP plus LAN port. So that's a very important piece as well too. You need to have a 10 gig port if you're going to be able to use this full 10 gig WAN throughput. We want it to be 10 gig so you can uplink to a 10 gig switch, which we'll talk about here in a minute. This router does support up to 10 DHCP servers with 8 VLANs. Of course, it is remote manageable via Insight. And Insight is the cloud option. It's not required if you want to manage it locally. You absolutely can, but it does have the capability to be managed remotely via Insight. It does do IPsec site-to-site VPN, and yep, that's about wraps that up. Let's talk about our new switch that we just came out with, the MS324TXUP. As we looked at the market and got a lot of feedback from our installers and our integrators and MSPs, the demand was that the market was needing a multi-gig high port count PoE router. So NETGEAR, obviously wanting to listen, we decided let's make it happen. So this is how the MS324TXUP came out. Some great, awesome features that I think you're going to love here. 24 port multi-gig, which is backwards compatible with 1 gig, with 4 10 gig SFP plus ports. So all those ports are 2.5 gig, backwards compatible, and then you got 4 10 gig SFP plus ports that can, if you wanted to lag all these together to make a 40 gig, you absolutely could. Also, when it comes time to the PoE, we wanted to make this something, again, that would future-proof businesses. So that was the goal. So we made all of these ports Ultra 60 or PoE++, meaning each port can go up to 60 watts of PoE power. However, to use, if you were to fill up all 24 ports with 60 watts, that would require some more power supplies, which this does not cover. So right now we do have a 720 PoE budget. That does give you 30 watts of power per port if you wanted to fill up every single port. But just know if you wanted to do, you could do half the amount of ports with 60 watts of PoE power should you ever need something like that. It is also energy efficient. It does have some energy efficient settings inside, such as running high power and low power during slow or off-peak hours. Does also have the option to manage with the fan, and if you wanted to make this a more quiet quiet setting, if it's going to sit on a desk or next to a desk, you can turn it into a kind of a quiet mode. It is also 100% rack mountable, as we can see with these rack mounts. It does also have the capability of being a layer 2 plus, so meaning this will do static routing, along with, of course, of all your VLANs and all those other QSFPs, all those good stuff that you would expect with a normal layer 2 switch. It's a layer 2 plus, or some other people know it as layer 3 light. Of course, this is also Insight managed. Again, I will mention again, it is optional to have this managed. You can manage this locally if you want. If you want to use the remote cloud management to gain access to these, that's the option as well too. And of course, it has that 5-year hardware limited lifetime warranty with next day replacement. Any other products that you buy through Microcom will come with 90-day free phone and chat support. If after you want to purchase additional support, you can do so with our feature called Pro Support. Now, maybe people are starting to ask why multi-gig. What's the purpose, or what's the real use benefit other than speed? Because that's a given with multi-gig. It's surprising that some people are still putting in 1 gig. Looking at the way Wi-Fi 6 and soon to be Wi-Fi 7 coming out, it makes sense to future-proof your network, your clients' networks, with something that will last more than 5 years. And so that's the way to go with that, is with multi-gig. So not only do you get the higher speed for the connectivity across multiple different companies, it's not just NETGEAR who has multi-gig capability, obviously Ubiquiti and Meraki and Extreme and all these, and Zyxel. A lot of other people out there are doing multi-gig and have multi-gig products as well. So it just makes sense that multi-gig go with multi-gig. Multi-gig works well when you're talking about access points and NASs and servers. Also come with PoE++. Again, future-proofing the PoE++ of what you need. Things like the latest IoT devices. We can expect our access points, as more and more access points come out with higher throughput and more powerful, they are going to need more PoE power, and so there's the need for PoE++. Lighting is becoming more and more prevalent. Cameras, more and more cameras are now doing like 8K, so you just need something more powerful. Of course, security with the multi-gig comes in fashion. Comes with the new latest security features. Lastly, better ROI and smaller form factor, better rate of return on investment when you're buying a multi-gig switch. It prevents you from having to rebuy sometime in the near future within the next 1 to 2 years or 3 years, because you're trying to keep up with the demand and the growth goal. So paying now a little bit more now for a multi-gig will definitely save you some more money in the future. Carrying on, let's talk about our access points. Hopefully you're familiar with our access points. If not, this will get you familiar very quick. NETGEAR is known for our Wi-Fi. It's a given. But not very many people know of our SMB Wi-Fi products. All of our Wi-Fi products are either Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 6E. All of our access points are going to be Insight managed. And of course, all of them are going to have the multi-gig backhaul. That's kind of what I feel like separates us from a lot of our competitors. It's funny when I see a Wi-Fi 6 access point with a gigabit Ethernet port. Thinking, hey, if we really want to use Wi-Fi 6 to its full advantage, why not have the backbone to support it? So even our smaller ends, our 610 and our 610Y, these ones, even though they have the low throughput 1.8 gigabytes, it still has a 2.5 gig backhaul. As we get more and more, we get into the mid-level to the high level, that's when we start seeing more and more throughput, still at the same 2.5 gig. Here's a quick overview of just a quick look at the access points that we offer right now. The 610 and the 615 series are going to be our entry-level class APs, solid performance. It's easy on the pocketbook. The 20 and the 25 are our mid-level business APs with fantastic throughput. I feel like these probably give you the best bang for your buck, if you will. And the 630 and 630E, these are at the edge of the top performance, right? Offering high bandwidth, so you can fully utilize its speed and capabilities to it. 6 and 7.8 gigabytes of throughput there. And of course, you can also have the number of devices, the number of clients supported, with the amount of concurrent devices at the same time, to 100. As you can see, most will do about 3,000 square feet, giving these about 2,500 square feet. Another thing that I like to point out too, this coverage area of 3,000 square feet, that's going to be in a real use case scenario. Where this isn't the giving the best of the best, which is unrealistic. I think of like a car when it gets like 42 miles to the gallon. And maybe if you're going downhill or on a flat hill at a steady 55, that's not a real case scenario. With us, we like to put it in a real case scenario. So this is going to be in a standard office. Your sheetrock walls and glass and wooden doors and things like that you'd expect in a typical office is what you can expect to get about 3,000 square feet of coverage. The more open, the more coverage you'll get, obviously. When you introduce things like brick, stone, metal, concrete, that can be affected too, and that can hamper it quite a bit. So why Wi-Fi 6? Again, kind of like the same reason why Wi-Fi or why multi-gig is here. Why Wi-Fi 6? The Wi-Fi 6 and 2.5 gig connectivity to fully use that multi-gig capability. And security has the latest and greatest security features with the next warranty, leading warranty. Of course, all of our routers again are all of our access points have the option to be remote managed via the Insight. And again, it's proven technology. Wi-Fi 6 again, future proofing. I had a partner of mine reach out the other day. Guy was still on N technology. One of his partners was still on N technology, and gosh, that was just completely a complete shock at how the business of 50 employees was still running on N technology. And the biggest part is you get the high grade enterprise level at the right price for the small to medium businesses. Let's talk briefly about Insight. Hopefully you all are well versed on Insight. If not, I've done many PowerPoint presentations talking about it. That should be the name that should be thought about immediately when you think of NETGEAR, is NETGEAR's Insight. But in case if you still don't know what Insight is that remote management platform that NETGEAR created. Came out about 6 or 7 years ago. And at that time, we kind of looked at the market and said, hey, the market is getting away from physical wireless controllers and are moving to this more cloud managed. And we said, hey, who's out there and who's currently doing what are they doing? And then of course we found names like Meraki, and Meraki is fantastic and great and wonderful things. They focus on the enterprise level, so as a price point, it may come out at the enterprise price point. We then also found Ubiquiti, which is kind of the opposite side of the spectrum. There was a need for such very cheap and affordable products. Ubiquiti filled that void, but there's also kind of a lack of things that come with that as well. Lack of support, maybe a lack of warranty, you get maybe a simple 1 year. So NETGEAR looked at this and said, if you're an MSP or if you're somebody who wants to manage your own business remotely, you didn't really have a great solid solution that you could go with that was easy on the wallet, but also great in features and sets. And so we said, let's make that our play with NETGEAR. Let's take the best of both. Let's take what the wants of both. Let's make that into what NETGEAR wants, and let's get rid of the stuff that people don't want. People don't like about the remote management platforms that other people have. So that's how Insight kind of came to be. Since it's been around for about 6-7 years now, it's gone through that refining fire. Has a lot of the features that VARs want at no additional price, at a great price point that they want, and very simple to use. One of the key features is that this has multi-tenancy capability. Not everybody has multi-tenancy capability, being able to have multiple different logins, managing different locations or all locations. Another feature that we like to say is ours is optional, doesn't have to be required. If you pay for the subscription but decide not to renew it, don't worry. The product, the switches, the access points, router, all that stuff will still work just fine and just as is. You just lose the ability to manage it remotely. After X amount of time, you can always renew it if you wanted to and pick up right where you left off. Also, it's good to know that our licenses, we like to call them our liquid. What that means too as well is if you have a license that you tie to a certain product, and let's say that end user, let's say you end up not needing that license for that product anymore, well, that license becomes available and can be used for a different Insight manageable device. You can apply that same license for the remaining of the time left to a different organization and use the remaining time left. So again, just making sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck. We do have it on the desktop as well as the mobile version. Both have the same feature sets. You can do both. The one thing that maybe I might say with the advantage of the phone app is you can scan barcodes in without having to type in the serial number of the devices whenever you're wanting to add. Another perfect example, I have a partner who his deployments, he saved a bunch of money on his deployments because what he did is he would order his product in, he would have it shipped to his business, they would scan the devices on the box, so you don't have to open the devices, but they would scan the boxes and upload it into their network, and then they would have their level 1 tech, just a very brief, somebody who's not super well versed in setting things up, he would just go and be able to just put it in the rack, he knew that much, and power it on. That's all that was pretty much needed. And maybe hook it up to the router and then you're set to go. From there, it would pop up online, and all the devices can be configured remotely. That's where the level 3 techs would be sitting in their office, getting it all remotely uploaded and VLAN set up, QoS set up, all that good stuff, without having to need to dispatch a level 3 tech. Again, secure, reliable, safe, scalable. You know, these you can have up to like 200 access points per location. You can have quite a lot. If you haven't checked it out, definitely should. We absolutely love to do demos. You can more than welcome to give us a call, reach out to your Microcom rep, or even just go to YouTube and take a look at our page when you go to netgear.com, or if you go to NETGEAR's YouTube page, there's Insight demos that are on there that show from very beginning to very end, as far as going from plugging it in and powering it on to getting the whole network set up. So with those three things, we've got the new PR60X router. When you get the NETGEAR router, you get an Insight managed multi-gig switch. You pair it with the Insight managed multi-gig access points. All of those, that's the backbone, that's the core of your network right there, all being able to be managed remotely under Insight is what NETGEAR deems the total network solution, right? It's not just multiple solutions, it's the solution, pairing it across having a 10 gig backbone with multi-gig capability, future proofing, scalability. At the end of the day, know that NETGEAR is your best partner to have. No one offers more of a better support and reliability than NETGEAR. We make sure we have the technical knowledge. You're more than welcome to always call us and reach out to us, and we can get on phones with an engineer. Not very many people or companies can say that, hey, if you call into NETGEAR, if you reach out to your Microcom rep and you want to talk to a NETGEAR engineer, that can happen. With the total network solution, the router, the switch, and the access points, and the cloud-based, that is what NETGEAR deems as the total network solution. And with that, I'm done. Julie, if you want to go ahead, let's go ahead and maybe open it up to some questions.
Thank you very much, Jordan, for that wonderful presentation. And you know, I've got audience questions for you for sure. Let's get started with the first one. Here we go with, how does multi-gig technology improve network performance?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, having a multi-gig switch to a multi-gig access point, you know, it both in the wired and wireless performance drastically increases. When you have a multi-gig access point with the Wi-Fi 6, you have so much bandwidth and so much speed capability with the Wi-Fi 6, it makes sense to have a multi-gig router that people on their cell phones, on their laptops, on their wireless devices are going to be able to see a better throughput. And when it comes time to the wired, anything wired in with that as a multi-gig will be able to fully utilize the multi-gig speed capability. And this, of course, is if you also have, you know, maybe a multi-gig if you have more than a 1 gig on your ISP. But being able to have all of that in line makes it so everybody, including wireless and wired devices, can see a performance increase.
Thank you very much, Jordan. Next question here for you. Can you elaborate on the security features provided by NETGEAR's access points?
WPA3 is the latest security feature that is being offered right now. That's pretty standard across the board when it comes time to wireless and Wi-Fi 6, but WPA3 is the latest security feature that it has. Our router does have a built-in firewall. It does not have, it's not a UTM per se, but it does have state packet inspection, does your basic NATing, you know, your network address translation, just stuff that your basic firewall that you would expect a normal basic firewall to do is what the router does on that side.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jordan. Next question. How does the PR60X Pro router handle load balancing and failover for business continuity?
Yeah, so load balancing, if we're talking about, you know, load balancing really comes into play when it comes to the wireless side of things. On the wireless, the access points handle the load balancing and being able to shift people to certain access points to help, obviously, with the load balancing. The failover portion works flawlessly when it comes time to being able to easily set it up. Most cases that are being used is an LTE failover. It's what we've seen a lot of use cases there for. Thankfully, from my partners, I've only really been able to speak to a partner who's actually had to use it in real time, and it did come in handy, and it saved their butt when they needed it. Thankfully, though, that it's more of a failover safety feature rather than, it's something that you hope you don't have to use, but it's nice when you have it, and it works, great, and it works as it should and as one would expect.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Jordan. Next question. How does NETGEAR ensure the security of its network solutions, including the new PR60X router?
Multi-factor authentication is going to be one. WPA3 security, the latest in security when it comes time to wireless side of things. But you're right. There's only so much of a security that NETGEAR obviously can put. Security is a big thing across all boards, right? Anybody who's in the security business knows that security isn't just starting with the network, but it also starts with the end users, making sure that passwords are secure and safe and no one's opening up bad links. But we're up to date with the latest security features that are out there when it comes to the wireless. Again, the WPA3, multi-factor authentication when logging into things, whether that's the GUI or whether that's the Insight. Those type of things are making sure what we're doing on our part to making sure that your network is safe and secure.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Jordan. Next question here. How does NETGEAR stay up to date with industry standards and technology trends?
By you guys, obviously listening to what our VARs, what the MSPs, and what those people are out there saying. We take a look and see what products are being developed, but we also listen to our VARs of what they want and what they need. They're the boots on the ground. That's where multi-gig, that's where ultra PoE, plus or ultra PoE comes into play. Dual WAN, those type of features are basically what we hear that our VARs and end users like to have. So how are we staying up to date? It's with you guys and what you guys tell us, and we reflect that back up to our, we have a weekly all employee call where they give us time to share what's the use case, what are things going on that that the market is needing, what are they saying out there. We also have the ability to jump on calls with not only engineers but even PLMs. We have a great guy's name is Doug, and Doug is the project line manager for all of the Insight stuff. So that PR60 router that just came out, the multi-gig switch that just came out, those are all up to Doug, and Doug is the one who's gotten those going. And Doug is more than happy. I've had multiple times where I've jumped on a call with him with some of my VARs who say, hey, I need this feature, or I want this product, or with Insight wouldn't have came to be if it wasn't for you guys telling us, hey, when I want to log in to the Insight platform, I want to see this. Perfect example would be a topology overview. One of my VARs specifically recommended saying, hey, it would be awesome if there was a tab inside Insight that I could click and it would show me just an overview of the topology of what access points are connected to what switch, and the switch connected to the router, and just a good little overview so I can have a good visual representation of what my network looks like. And that was a great suggestion, and within a couple of firmware updates, it's there and it's now live, and you can see it. So people like you are what makes NETGEAR great.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Jordan. And it sounds like your business associate, Doug, is a very valuable person there at NETGEAR.
Extremely, yes.
Fantastic. Good to know. Next question here. We think the answer to this question is yes, but can you please confirm, does NETGEAR offer Wi-Fi 6 on indoor and outdoor units?
And you would be correct on that. The answer is absolutely yes. We don't offer anything less than Wi-Fi 6. We offer Wi-Fi 6E, and currently it's in beta with some Wi-Fi 7 stuff coming down the pipe, but to no less than Wi-Fi 6 when it comes time to NETGEAR. We feel, why would you at this point in time? Anybody who's putting in a new network doesn't want to go back. They want to go forward. They don't want to putting in old equipment only to replace it in a short period of time. We want to make sure our VARs are putting in solid products and solutions that's going to last for years to come.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Next question here for you. You talked about remote management. Can you touch on that again regarding the costs involved?
Yeah, perfect. So I didn't really touch too much of that. So thanks for this person answering that question. So there's two types of remote management when it comes time to Insight. There's two subscriptions. We've got the premium, We've got Insight Premium and we've got Insight Pro. Insight Premium is more for the DIY guys, people who want to do their own network and manage their own network themselves. Maybe they've got a 1 or 2 or 3 locations that they want to manage, and they're their own IT guy, or maybe the business owner. That price is going to be about $10 per year. Again, that's per year, not per month, but per year, per device. And when I say device, I'm talking per access point, per router, or per switch. So if you have, let's say, a router, you had a switch and maybe 2 access points, so you've got, maybe 4 devices on the network that are Insight manageable, it would be $40 for the entire year. Skip a lunch, you made up for the entire year for how much you spent right there. The other one is the Insight Pro. The Insight Pro is more for the MSP guys. The MSP guys who want the multi-tenancy capability, who want to set read and write access to certain people, has more of the functionality, reporting features that MSPs would like to have. And that price I'm going to leave up to your account manager at Microcom, because that price can only be bought through an authorized reseller, and however much there is. I know MSRP is probably around $25 per year per one, but that's MSRP price. Your account manager at Microcom can quote you probably a more accurate price if you wanted it.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Pricing is not bad. That sounds like good news. Here, last question here, Jordan. Can you explain liquid licenses?
Yeah. So liquid licenses is meaning, let's say you have company John's Tacos, and you decide you're an MSP and you sign him up, and he signs a contract saying, hey, he'll be with you for, you'll manage his network for 3 years. So you go in and you buy maybe a 3-year Insight Pro license, you put in some of the equipment, and turns out after about 1.5 years, John's Tacos decides goes out of business, or they decide to boot you, they pay an early termination fee, whatever it is. So now you've got these products that maybe he's bought and maybe he's taken them with him, but you've got these licenses that you're like, hey, I still have 1.5 years left on these licenses that were for him. You can take that license and reassign it to a different company. Then you have Bill's Computers. Let's say you manage Bill's Computers, so you manage his shop. And let's say you just signed him up and he signs a 1-year agreement with you. You take that licenses that you've had with John's Tacos for the 1.5 years that you have left, you take that license and you apply it to Bill's Computers, and you don't have to rebuy. Therefore, you do not have to rebuy your licenses to manage. I mean, even if you sign a 3-year, you could still put in 1.5 years of those licenses, get the full 1.5 years worth, and then rebuy the licenses for maybe 1 year or 2 years, however long you want to buy for the remaining time left with Bill's Computers. So the licenses are not tied to a specific product. They can be applied to any other NETGEAR product that's Insight manageable at any other company. Doesn't have to be the same company, and it doesn't have to be the same access point. So hope that clarifies that.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Jordan, so much for answering all of those questions for us today. And thank you to everyone for joining today. And if anyone does have any further questions, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown today, please make sure to know that we have recorded this webinar and it will be uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel so you can view it again. Jordan, thank you so much for all of this information you shared with us today. We greatly appreciate it. And until next time, we will share some more with NETGEAR on the next webinar. Everybody, have a fantastic day.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.